Hey there, everyone. Happy Tuesday, or happy Tuesday for those who are listening the day of the release, I guess, or happen to be listening some other Tuesday. You get it. It's me, DM Nathan, here to introduce you to today's very special 6-month Q&A episode. When we began, we had no way of knowing the response we have received from the world outside of our circle of friends in real life, and even then we were a little skeptical. But having an engaged audience who gets and enjoys what we're trying to do here has been a really incredible experience, and we thought that this would be a nice way to say thank you while giving you a little bit more about the who, what, where, and why of Reckless Attack. Now, we got a huge outpouring of awesome questions when we turned to our Twitter followers for prompts, which was a problem exacerbated by how excited we were to answer all of them. So, in addition to this hour-long episode, there is a second Q&A available for those who subscribe to our Patreon that covers even more questions like how we world built for Reckless Attack, TPKs, the totally real beef with the Planet Arcana podcast, and life lessons learned through TTRPGs and podcasting. We hope you enjoy the episode, and don't worry, we will be back to our normally scheduled episodes next week. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Reckless Attack Q&A episode.
Yeah.
I know everybody's excited about that. So this is due to us hitting a couple of milestones. First of all, we have been now recording for about 6 months.
Yeah.
So a full half year. And also, we have recently gotten to 1,500 followers on what is known as the Twitter. So we decided to create a quick post and see if there were any questions that any of our followers had that we could go through and answer. And thank you, Nathan, for curating a lot of these and kind of grouping some together. There were some similar ones. Oh, and Sophie. Yes, thank you, Sophie.
You got it. I copy and pasted from Twitter.
Well, right, but curate sounds much better for the both of us, Sophie. So if you could just be cool.
Curate goes on the resume. Copy paste does not.
True.
So we are going to. We have a list of questions here that came either look like they're going to be asked to specific members or just to the group in general. There are a couple that I am actually excited to answer.
You're not excited to answer.
What about
all
the other
of them,
ones,
Steve?
The other ones, everybody else in various capacities is excited to answer.
Good save.
So just me personally, there are some that I read that and I went, oh, that's a great question. And I am actually looking forward to answering that one. So hopefully everybody is settled in and we will kind of kick off with the top of the list here. There are several questions that were for everyone. So we'll kind of start with those and work our way into the more specific questions to specific members of Reckless Attack. Question number 1. How did you all come together as a group?
I gotta give props to Nathan for this one.
Yeah, props and desperation, I guess.
Yeah.
The short answer is a campaign that I had been running ended because of a pregnancy. And they were like, hey, we can't play D&D for quite a while.
As it happens, yeah.
Oh, okay. So that answers whether it was an in-game pregnancy or a real life pregnancy.
No, it was an actual meat space human who was creating another meat space human with another member of that campaign on purpose, et cetera, et cetera. But knowing that was going to happen, and I don't remember if I had already had a pause in between campaigns, I, in a desperation ploy, posted on Facebook, as was the style at the time, and was just like, hey, I'm looking to start another D&D campaign. And this was when 5e was still new but in the public consciousness, and I thought I could maybe get some good hooks just throwing it out there. And I really didn't. I got not a lot of people reached out, but the people who did reach out was one friend whose name is Rachel. Hi, Rachel. I don't know if you're listening, but hi. But was also Sophie, who tagged David
Who I did
because
not volunteer to play.
You had not volunteered to play.
Yes, only I was volunteered. Then I was like, I reversed Uno'd Sophie and said, hey, what if we play together?
Yeah, it really escalated quickly where suddenly I went from a Sophie to a Zhang to two Zhangs and a Sophie. And immediately that was like, oh, okay, cool. And it was just the four of us at first. And I had met David a little bit and hung out a little bit and had known Sophie, who was a friend of my now wife. So it was just like, cool. Well, like, let's do a one shot or a couple sessions, get a feel for it, see how it goes. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot of like figuring out each other's little nuances and preferences and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like an immediate like, oh, this is perfection. If you went back, this is reckless attack in a nutshell. But it was still fun, and like good D&D is still great D&D. And then I can't remember if we were looking for an additional person or if I had put out another call or what. But then Steve entered the scene also on Facebook, as was the style at the time. Steve, take it away.
Yes. So I responded to Nathan's post on Facebook since we were friends. If you had listened to the other Reckless Talks where we kind of talked about meeting up. Yeah. Yeah. So Nathan had been in our local game store doing research sort of as a kind of into the gaming subculture. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was one of the people that he had interviewed, and we became friends, and we were friends on Facebook. And I saw that he had posted that he was looking to start running for a group. And it's been my experience that there's a lot of people that want to play, but not a very small subset of those people actually want to run.
Yeah.
A D&D game. And so my thinking was, hey, 5th edition is relatively new at this point, and it should be something that it looks like it's kind of the direction that D&D is going. So I figured I should probably get in on some games and maybe learn the rules a little bit, because they are, while they are similar to 3.5, I didn't play a lot of 3.5 or 4 really, but they are vastly different from 1st and 2nd edition, which is what I was used to.
Yeah.
So I figured I would jump in, and that's where I found out that the Zhangs were in it. And because I had played a lot of Pathfinder with them at the game store as well.
Yeah, that first meeting was bananas, because we all met at Nathan's apartment, like in his little side room, and it was just like that Spider-Man meme, but with all of us pointing at each other.
Except I was standing outside the Spider-Man circle, just like, what is happening?
And we're like, hey, I know you.
It was so weird because, and Steve and I had talked a little bit on Facebook, because this was years later that, after college and all of that. And we'd actually interacted a good amount on Facebook, but hadn't hung out or anything like that. So for me, the idea that, and maybe I had even vaguely known that you maybe knew each other or something, but yeah, it was more just to like, just like show up to my house and we'll get something going. Mm-hmm. And then it was just like, wait a second, actually they all know each other and have all played together. Oh, weird and great. And also, oh no.
And are not like accidentally mortal enemies or something. And
right.
Yeah, exactly. That was
good point.
Yes. Yes. In an alternate universe, that probably could have happened. And then, yeah.
But then, it was just we started playing, and I still remember a lot of details of that first adventure we played together. It was just like a repurposed Adventurers League adventure. I think Outlaws of the Iron Route. That was the first.
Is that what it was called?
That was what it was called. That was the name of it. It's actually a weird, nifty little adventure. I encourage you to look it up. And then we played through that. I was still definitely taking it kind of an adventure at a time, be like, well, let's see if we're enjoying it. And I don't think Sophie and the Zhangs had played any 5e at that point.
I definitely had not. And this is the first I am realizing Steve had not played 5e before. I thought
same.
He was a master of this edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was actually also news to me just now. And we literally talked about this moment in a long form interview not long ago.
It was, I should say I had picked up the books, so I had a basic understanding.
And Steve's basic understanding is deep lore knowledge.
Mastery.
But I didn't have I still don't know what all of the conditions do.
Oh, well,
Like,
no. I
it's,
mean, who does?
it's-
Who cares?
Yeah. And so at least now I have a better understanding of bonus action versus reaction versus
We
action
barely
versus
use those,
movement.
to be honest, in Reckless Attack. Like,
No. Oh, please. You say that as if you have not painstakingly thought out
Planned out, yeah.
multiple
That is true.
optimal bonus action move combinations for level 7 Kaskrin.
which we will
But-
reach in approximately 3 years.
Yeah. No, you'll level up faster, damn it. I've told you that. No, but so I was taking it very adventure at a time. And again, especially not knowing that the Zangs especially enjoyed a lot of the crunch of older editions, and knowing that 5e is not that, at least comparatively. And this all being a fairly new to me group. Like, again, I knew these people, but I hadn't really gamed with them for very long. And then just like we kind of kept going. Like, we finished our one adventure, and then everyone's like, well, if everyone else wants to, we'll keep playing. And so we did. And I just kept like putting railroad tracks down, as we were going. And then it spiraled out of control, yada, yada, Reckless Attack podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy actually meeting a new group and like playing Dungeons and Dragons with them and deciding like, oh, I do actually want to keep doing this. Like, do you guys want to keep doing this?
I was going to say, it really felt, as I recall, and again, this was what, like, we've talked about it a number of times. This is like 4 or 5 years ago now, maybe.
2016, I think.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Was it 2016?
Yeah, I think because I remember that we had a spreadsheet of all of the NPCs and all of the timelines,
Yes.
both in the real world and in the campaign world, and I think that started October 2016.
Jeez.
Wow.
Well,
Oh my god, I
So-
volunteered you for a D&D group like 6 months into dating.
Yeah.
I was taking
Yeah.
a chance
Correct.
on you.
Yeah. Do you want to
Correct.
meet all of my friends and also
Do
start
you
a
want to meet
podcast?
my
and-
best friend's long-term boyfriend? Because if this doesn't work out, man, I could be stuck.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Sophie, you technically you put this on me.
I did. I'm sorry. I
you
glad it
set
worked
me
out,
up.
Nathan.
Yeah, right. We could have really trapped each other. This could have been a whole thing.
It could have been very bad, but it wasn't. And again,
Glad
yada,
we're
yada,
married
yada,
now.
Reckless
Yay.
Attack podcast. But yeah, I remember it being a decision point, essentially, where it's like, okay, so like we were still feeling each other out and still learning the system and still learning the dynamics and what kind of stories we liked. And also, I was still a very new DM. And so I was still kind of learning the more like strategic, cerebral people management and expectation management side. I still am, but like especially in 2016. But yeah, it was just kind of like we finished the one adventure. It was a lot of fun. It was weird. It was off the rails, but all into like a good spirit of fun. And then, yeah, it was just like a decision point where it's like, cool, we're going to keep going. And then we just did, and things just kept expanding and expanding from there. So yeah, it was really weird and interesting how we got to today.
Our next question is also from That Gamer Ajax. And the question is, what made you decide to make Reckless Attack what it is?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question.
I'm
yeah.
just thinking, like, what made us decide to want to do a podcast in the first place?
Good place to start.
I feel like it was an idea that had been kind of like bouncing around in people's heads for a while. And I remember distinctly you, Nathan, kind of coming to my brother and I and saying, hey, like, I've always wanted to do a podcast. I feel like this would be a great group for it. We were already kind of in the habit of putting an iPhone into the table and recording it for future purposes. So I feel like it just became like this idea that started off because both you and I, others had always kind of wanted to do a podcast. And we finally said, no, this is the right time and the right people to do it with. So that I feel like was kind of the beginnings of Reckless Attack. Maybe I'm misremembering some of that stuff, but
At minimum, that's what I've always said during interviews. Is I literally kept putting my phone in the middle of the table because I'd heard that listening to your own DMing and your own gaming can help you grow as a DM, and it did. I'd really recommend it, not just for podcast purposes. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I love a lot of podcasts, and I also don't like a lot of podcasts. And so for me to then listen to those recordings of us all playing, and this was towards the end of our campaign, so we were all like settled into our characters, settled in as a group. But I liked it. Like, not just because it was, it's us and that's fun, but I quickly turned to like, well, would I listen to this?
Yeah.
And the answer was yes. And I thought that if my enjoyment superseded my hyper self-criticism and anxiety and all these other things, then like, ooh, maybe this is actually pretty good. And it turns out it was.
And I remember too, we had a lot of sessions where we thought like, hey, what if we took like better notes, or what if we recorded this? And this would really help us, remember what was going on through this multi-years long campaign. And then also too, we just had a lot of what I felt were really phenomenal sessions. And we were like, that was a lot of fun. I wish we had recorded that so we could listen to it later, just for us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that came out of it, so we were doing some test recording for what would eventually become Reckless Attack. And when we started off with a couple of battles, and we had the battle mat out. And so it was just a dry erase map out, and we kind of placed our characters, and we were trying to accurately describe where our characters were on this map, because we knew that we wouldn't be having video along with this. The only thing that we might have would be maybe pictures up on the website of the battle map itself in different stages. So we were trying to figure out how much detail we had to go into in order for somebody who is listening to be able to follow the combat. When we actually started doing our recording, one of our first battles was just theater of the mind. Like we didn't have a battle map, and we discovered that it was actually much easier to follow what was going on when we actually didn't have a map in front of us to tell us exactly where we were. And it was just all based on description, because Nathan had to describe the area to us so we understood it. And then by doing that, the listener would understand it. And then we had to describe where we're going and what we're doing so that Nathan and the other players would understand it. And therefore, the people listening would be able to follow it. And so I thought that was kind of a nice little happy accident that came out of our early playtests of what we wanted to do, was the fact that now all of our at least our battles up until this point have been theater of their mind, even though it could be incredibly complex with just the number of characters on the field, as was shown in the battle with the grungs.
Yes.
We still have the battle mat out for things like that, has our initiative order in it, and how many of this creature there are, how many of that creature there are. But at least we're able to describe it in enough detail, I think, that it is able to be followed by somebody listening with no visual cues.
Yeah, I think that was a really good lesson for us, for sure. And then the only other thing that I would add is, like, in our conversations, it was pretty clear, and I had known this already because we'd been playing together for a long time, but there was definitely a sense that we were all excited to be good guys, and and throw whatever asterisks or whatever you need to alongside checkers. But ultimately, we wanted to, everyone wanted to be a good guy. We wanted to save the world. We wanted to make the world a better, brighter place. Especially, I would imagine, at least for me personally, during COVID, that was a nice idea.
Yes.
And so that I think we all agreed very early was what our vibe was, and what we wanted, and what we wanted to be, how we wanted to like set ourselves up, where obviously there'd be character growth, there would be flaws, there would be confrontations, there'd be all the drama you want, but at the end of the day, this was a show about good people choosing to make a difference in the world. And that, I think, is also a very core part of Reckless Attack and kind of this campaign.
And I kind of want to add something to all that too, because I remember when we were first discussing the idea of doing a podcast and trying to figure out like, what kind of podcast do we want? Because at the time that we started, I think there's a lot of D&D podcasts out there, with a lot of different focuses, a lot of different people on them. And we were just trying to figure out like, what do we want to do for a podcast? We're playing D&D. That's great. But do we have like a hook or an angle, or like, how do we want to present ourselves? And I just distinctly remember this idea of like, well, we just want this to be the best version of our home game that we can make it. Like, we just want to have a ton of fun doing it. And if it makes us happy, that's what we're shooting for. And hopefully other people enjoy it too.
Yep. And that's always our singular goal is be sure that's centered around making sure that we're not burning ourselves out as much as possible, and that we're just doing what we think is fun and cool, and not, worrying a little bit about the audience, but not to the point where we're changing what our instincts tell us and what we know we will enjoy and what we know the other people at the table will enjoy and make laugh and make cry and all that kind of stuff. And then just hope everyone else feels the same.
Our next question is, I believe, directed mostly towards Jonathan as our somewhat official timekeeper when it comes to our podcast. But this one comes from @Rahab Akatriel.
Kaya.
Yeah, it's Kaya.
Yeah,
Hi, Kaya.
And the question is, how much time does recording each episode take in real life? And how much of it gets trimmed out to produce the episodes we hear?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can take this one because I act, as Steve said, as kind of like the unofficial timekeeper / I also edit the episodes too, in addition to the rest of our wonderful editing team. So what our structure looks like is we meet ideally three times a month, sometimes more, and we'll record for about 3-ish hours with the goal of getting 2 episodes done in those 3 hours. Each of our episodes starts off as maybe like an hour 15-ish. And what I do is I literally have little red, green, red, green, yellow card stoplight colors that I wave at Nathan when we're almost, 15 minutes away from our time limit, 10 minutes, and then 5 minutes, just so that, we know when to kind of move it towards the end of what might be a cliffhanger or the end of an episode. So we start off with maybe an hour 15. Sometimes it actually frequently goes longer than that, but
yes.
Well, the first
we'll go
episode,
an hour 15, hour and a half. Sophie, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was just going to say the first episode there is 20 minutes of shooting the shit that we cut. And we have to when editing, we have to I just skip 5-minute increments and okay, go back 2.5 minutes.
Correct.
Still shooting the shit. Okay, go forward.
The first 20 minutes of every recording is us just being huge dorks. That doesn't make it into the podcast because we cannot show that level of chaotic energy.
No. It's true nonsense. But if you subscribe to our Patreon, and sometimes you can hear some of it in outtakes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But that's also kind of why we record for so long, I guess, because a good half hour, 40 minutes is just us talking. And then we actually start playing a D&D and recording.
And that takes about 5 attempts too. And it's a whole.
But then each of those hour and a half-ish episodes gets cut down fairly significantly. Again, Sophie was saying the good first 5-10 minutes is just nonsense. But then we go from an hour 15 to maybe closer to an hour or 50 minutes even sometimes. So we cut a decent amount, I would say.
Our next questions, we have kind of a 2-parter here, or a 3-parter here for Sophie, if you are ready to answer.
3-parter for me? Dang.
The first one is from our friends at D&D Disaster Story, which starts off as, what is Val? Because she definitely isn't human. And the second part of that is from Chase the Ghost, who says, Val is very human, despite her asterisk. How does it feel, or how did it feel, to hold on to this major detail for so long? What concept do you enjoy most about being human?
Human asterisk.
Human asterisk. Yeah, thank you.
So I will not reveal what Val is.
Yeah.
If you are dying to know, please feel free to go to our website and then use that to go to D&D Beyond to check out Val's character sheet.
Yes.
It's listed there. I've tried to drop subtle hints. And I feel like there's one thing Val does that's very clear, as it's a racial trait of hers.
Yes.
It's come up a couple times.
Yeah. Though as I like to describe myself, a casual D&Der,
yes,
I would have no clue. I'd be like, oh, that's just something cool they do. It's some feat or something. I would not take the time to go look it up in the player's handbook.
I wouldn't be familiar with it either.
But yeah, she is very, very human, very asterisk-y.
Both parts.
So I guess the question is, which racial trait gives you the ability to juggle that many notebooks at a single time?
That is just years of training.
Yeah, that's just a Val trait, I think.
That is a Val trait.
That's a Val trait. That is from the time, very young age, going with her mom to the illustrious Atheum. Like, her mom would have just like, I don't know what they're called. It's not like a baby Bjorn. It's like that wrap that you can just like wrap a baby to yourself. And her mom would have taken Val like the second she could back to the Atheum and just started researching and working and meeting with people and teaching them things. So
I love that.
Val would, even as like a toddler, you know, when she had the focus, be trying to learn. Or I can imagine a toddler Val being like, I'm going to teach other toddlers how to do this.
100%.
Yeah, so juggling notebooks is years and years of hard work and practice.
Yeah, and the other part of that being you, Sophie, that has been something that we talked about very early on and kind of continue workshopping forever and checking in with each other a little bit about. But so what has it been like, especially knowing that there are actually people hungry to know the answer? What has that experience been for you to just continue just to have that secret in your back pocket and know that you can bring it out whenever you want or not, or whenever it comes up? What's that been like to have that going?
Pressure to not just blab it, because like I feel like the reveal is going to be me just accidentally saying what was happening.
Just like in her intro one day, just like accidentally, oh, I'm Val.
Val, though, the redacted.
Yeah, right. We'll bleep it out. Don't worry, Sophie.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is the first time I've had like a secret for my D&D character, and I haven't had that many, but especially with Umbra. Umbra was an open book.
Except for the murders she did.
Yeah.
That she was on the run from.
If anyone would have asked her, she would have said.
They were really
never came up.
Yeah, we just
never
weren't
asked the
asking the
right
right questions.
Yeah, you know, those were questions for Alhambra, her secret identity, her cover.
God, I forgot about Alhambra.
Yeah. Did I miss any of the 3 parts?
So it was, how does it feel, or how did it feel to hold on to the major detail for so long?
I'm still holding on to it. It's staying secret until I accidentally blurt it out.
And what concept do you enjoy most about being human asterisk?
I think the concept I enjoy most is part of the reveal that is to come. And it's something Nathan and I side chat about and talk about how we will incorporate it into the story and kind of how it's playing out in the background. And it's just a little bit of the little crumbs I have laid so far.
Nathan's just like waggling his eyebrows at us because we're on video too.
That's
I
right.
know the
Well, that's me.
secrets, but you don't.
I've had so many secret conversations with so many of you over the years, and relatively few with Sophie. And so it's between this and the grand reveal of the Desk of Doing.
Oh my God,
I've
that was so
had
good.
like 200% more secret reveals and secret side chats with Sophie, and so it is just like extra delicious for me.
All right. So our next question in the Chase the Ghost category from that user is for David. And he says, I applaud the complete novelty of a dwarven warlock soldier. How did this combination even appear?
That is a excellent question. I think I mentioned it too, either during the first behind the screens or a upcoming Reckless a Talk. But Caskrin Brightmane was actually like the character build was actually not my idea. It was Jonathan's. And so we had done some playtesting of different characters when we were first starting this campaign, and I made something that was like super dumb. I think what I made originally was a blood mage. It was like a homebrew.
Oh yeah, that's
Like, oh my God, I forgot about that
sanguine
monstrosity.
like obliterator, and it's just like, this does not fit the tone. This is not working at all for me.
And you could control F and find like 8 instances of the word viscera being used. And I think once we all realized that, we're all like, I don't actually,
I don't like this.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
There's a theme we're going for, and I don't know what it is, but this is not it.
Yeah.
But then my brother had played this warlock of the Eternal Citadel, and as we were playing these characters, I was like, That's really cool. That's actually really fun where, his whole point is he supports, he buffs, and he provides protection through temporary HP. And so my brother went on to play checkers, and I just sort of glommed onto that concept. And was like, yes, I like this. And so that was the initial shell. And the rest of the build kind of just fell into place. When you have like a warlock chassis, you like mechanically you either go 1 or 3, and so Kaskrin's is going to 3, and then the rest of it has sort of fluctuated around that. But mechanically, it made the most sense for him to be a dwarf, and then the soldier bit honestly just fell in right at the last moment before we were about to record. Nathan had been talking to us about all of these character ideas and background concepts for months and months, and so I was really going back and forth between a couple of them. And I think literally the day before we started recording for our first episode, I was like, he's a soldier. There we go. There it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's a town guard. Yeah.
He's just going to be town guard Kaskrin. And, I'm having a ton of fun with it so far. I hope everyone else is. And, yeah.
Our next question here is for Jonathan, and I think this the first part of this is a sentiment that is echoed by all of us and a lot of people out there in the Twitterverse as well. I love checkers, Mango, and Junior.
Stop.
Yeah,
Correct.
That is a correct statement. So the question is, did Nathan draw the line at 3 frogs, or were you just feeling lucky with this amount of hopping ambition?
That's a great question and a great sentiment, and I'm honestly just so happy and also just like surprised that people have like kind of latched onto this little frog creature that has blossomed over the course of character
Gremlin
creation.
is, I think, the word you're looking for.
The chaos gremlin that has been created as a result of our collaborative world building. So kind of going back to the whole character creation thing, checkers originally was not a grung. The only actual frog in the entire frog stack was Mango, actually, to begin with. Checkers was originally going to be a lizard folk, like just straight on full lizard folk. And then kind of as we talked and as we discussed the characters and the campaign and the world, Checkers started taking on more like grung racial traits and like more things that I thought, oh, this would be fun for him to have. Let's talk to Nathan about it. Until eventually it was just like, well, he's a grung, and also now he also has a grung familiar or a frog familiar. So it transformed basically from 1 to the full 3 frog stack that it is now. But that is to say, the stack will not stop at 3.
No.
No.
Jonathan's been threatening me for some time.
The stack cannot stop at 3.
Yeah, it cannot. Physically will not be allowed to. But I have plans for more frogs in the future. So
the 2022 Reckless Attack promise.
Right.
More frogs.
We're all going to come home from an adventure one day, and the mushroom cave will just be frogs. Every mushroom, for every mushroom that is there will be a frog.
They're toadstools.
We can only hope.
Yeah. So we have one more from Chase the Ghost, and this is mostly directed towards Nathan, but anybody can chime in. And they say, I'm really curious about the origins of your narrative DMing. It is something so sleek and also so incredibly engaging with your players. When, do you think, did you start this style of storytelling?
This is a really weird question for me to answer because I almost have a hard time thinking of having a style, if that makes sense. And not in the Bruce Lee, my style is to have no style kind of thing, but just like, I don't know, I just sit down and I blab, right? But I think for me, something that I learned pretty early in my D&D career, thanks to some really great DMs, specifically my other D&D Steve friend, Steve Townshend, who actually wrote for Wizards of the Coast and was my first real DM, taught me a lot of value in being present with the group and being ready to make sure that everyone's involved and everyone has their little moments, and that one of the best ways to do that is to specifically call on someone. Like a teacher at a classroom and calling out someone who's taking a nap, except not. But specifically to be like, hey, you haven't had a chance to shine or to say something or to ask a question or to react. And so it's something I've tried to be very mindful of in terms of making sure that I'm trying to pull in people as much as possible and keep them grounded in their characters as much as possible, give them a chance to react, because that's to me is what a great D&D character is a thing who can react to stimuli, basically, and express their characters and their opinions to stimuli. So it's something I focus on a lot, and it's kind of evolved over the years, especially playing with this group of just like powerhouse rock star players that I have, to now it evolves into talking about like, well, what do you think your character, their past history with this might be, or what do you think, when you were growing up, what was your city like this, or is it reminding you like that? And so it's just kind of evolved from, hey, how do you feel about this, or what are you thinking about, to using that to world build, to ground characters, to ground players, and to give players opportunities to contribute and shape things on top of the hopefully many other times that they have that just in the course of a normal D&D adventure. So I guess that is what I would say about my quote unquote style, if there is one. And also just like, I don't know, cram cool shit in your games and make your players feel very good and also very sad in a good consensual way. And that's how I DM. But I'm curious what everyone else thinks about what my DMing style is, other than good or bad, I guess. Please no one say bad, please.
No, I'm
I
not
can't
saying
handle it.
bad. I'm not saying anything. I just think it's I like you, Nathan. I'm now trying to think of like your style of DMing, because you're like one of 3 game masters or DMs I've had, and everyone has tried to be very descriptive and everything. So it's just like, well, you do a great job, and I like the world you build, and you're good. I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it a lot. It's a good time.
Yeah, one of the things I really appreciate about it is that you give us, the players, the agency to kind of also describe what is going on in your world. So, for instance, small things to be like, what the wagons look like and where we are and how we're like, sitting atop specific types of wagons, to things like the guild hall, where we were able to say, hey, there is a garden on the roof of the guild hall, or there is a meditation pond outside, and there's also a garden out there that is mostly filled with mushrooms and that kind of thing. So we feel that we are creating this world kind of along with you, and also that gives you a break of having to come up with absolutely everything.
Definitely.
And you're just like, Steve, what does Selv actually see when he walks outside? Instead of you having to figure out exactly what Selv sees.
Yeah.
So I really do enjoy that.
It's been really nice to get to do that and to have players who will pick up that baton and also be comfortable being like, I don't have anything, and that being fine too. Mm-hmm. But, I think for me, the role of a dungeon master is to keep everyone engaged and having fun, keep it a positive experience, but also to ultimately put stuff in the game that your players enjoy, right? And that that they can react to, and that is fun, whether it's painful fun or dramatic fun or just fun. And it's a really freaking easy way to do that is just to ask your players, hey, what do you want in the game? And let's put it in there. And what kind of themes and that sort of thing. It doesn't work for everyone. You have to have a group that understands your tone and the tone of everyone else. And then even then, sometimes we get it wrong, but we get it right a lot more than we don't. And it's a real pleasure and privilege to be able to kind of use that tool.
So, Sophie, there is a question here for you from our good friend Countess Cassie.
Yeah, Cassie.
Hi, Cassie.
And Cassie would like to know, when is Sophie doing her puzzle stream?
The people need to know, Sophie.
Yes, important questions.
Well, my version 1 of the overhead puzzle cam has unfortunately been scrapped, as it has a major flaw in it, is that anytime I touch the table, the camera shakes because it's attached to my stand.
Okay, yeah. That tracks.
Zero structural integrity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everyone would just get seasick watching this thing. It would be bad.
So I have a plan to MacGyver an aerial camera.
Oh my God. This is the first I'm hearing of this.
One
and I'm
day,
so invested.
You're all going to come over to the podcast room. And there's going to be a lot of stuff on the ceiling. And you just can't ask any questions.
On the ceiling.
I have plans. I just haven't had time to enact them. But
okay,
when I
need
out
the three of you to control these 3 drones that have
right?
between them that are holding a camera above the board.
Yep.
You know, hey, everyone subscribe to our Patreon, and we'll make puzzle drones next year. So,
yeah, but I have the puzzle picked out. It's delightful. It looks like a dungeon crawl. I think it's called
oh, it's so cute. I love it so much.
Apparently, David was looking at the image, and it's about a little girl who wants to be a frog. I didn't realize that when I bought it.
Yes,
No,
yes,
Nathan,
it
that's
is.
what you were telling me that, yeah.
So perfect.
So, yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, it's just adorable. But yeah, we have a Twitch stream now. What's the channel name, Sophie?
Reckless Attack Studios. Not
Yes.
studio. I typed it in wrong the first time. We have
Studios,
multiple
plural.
studios.
And we don't have any immediate plans other than we will be doing puzzle streams at some point. But if you want to throw a follow over that direction, feel free to, or reach out to us on Twitter or whatever to be like, hey, I would like to do that. I would like to listen or watch that or watch something else happen. So stay tuned.
So this next question got asked by a few different people.
Many people.
And many people. Okay, I stand corrected. And this was I am thrilled by this question getting asked by multiple people. I think this is another one we can check off of our Reckless Attack bucket list that we have. But the question is, do you accept guests?
It is, like you said, unbelievably, it's crazy. Right? I don't know if I feel like I can probably speak for everyone that's an insane thing for us to hear. People out there want to play with us is nuts. Yeah, is wondrous and unbelievable. And we think we're fun, but
We're
that other
all
people
delights.
think
we're
right, we're a delight.
Still that other people think so.
Right, exactly.
I'm not over that part of it, and let alone people want to come play with us.
Right. But so the short answer is that right now we are not. We don't have any immediate plans for that. We definitely want to long-term be a place where we can show off talents of people across the tabletop role-playing game sphere and beyond. And we're doing that a little bit with Reckless Attack, but we're making sure that what we're doing is sustainable and is quality and is all these other things kind of first and foremost before stretching ourselves out and inviting more people in and that kind of stuff. So it really comes down to just making sure that we keep our sanity and that we keep it sustainable and still good and still our focus being the podcast, Reckless Attack podcast. We'll see. We'll stay tuned. Again, keep listening, keep sharing it with your friends, and one day we will become the podcast empire that those who want to guest on our show want us to be. But for now, it's just the 5 of us.
Yes, but by all means, every so often, keep asking. I am not going to get tired of that question, of seeing that question pop up, because that just it really makes my day. Our next question is a combination of questions that we had gotten from the Double DM podcast as well as Power Word Play, the actual play stream. And the question is, what is your favorite and or the best tabletop snack or drink?
Ooh, okay, wait. Is it while recording or normally?
No snacks are allowed when recording. Okay. So it's clearly when we're not playing Reckless Attack.
Yes. Yeah, we made it very clear as Sophie. I think Sophie captured also my feelings around any amount of snacking close to mics or near mics or anything is no. God, no.
There was that one time in our previous campaign where I had a bad day and I brought an entire bar of chocolate to the table, and then there's just this foil
it got picked up
background because our mics are very good, and Nathan just made us stop and I ripped up with chocolate.
Well, we were sharing it too.
I forgot that. Oh my god.
Yeah, we were passing it around.
correctly.
We were sharing, and it was just
crinkle.
crinkle.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It sounded like there was a campfire going.
Yes.
everywhere.
That's right.
While everybody was talking, it was just.
Yeah, we joked about it being the start of our Foley work career, where like unwrapping that was, capturing some natural sounds.
I want to say the best tabletop snack is like Ruffles potato chips, and that's not only because I want some right now as we're recording. They are objectively the best.
Ooh.
I will only agree to that if there is French's onion dip involved.
Yeah,
That's the only
chips
time
and
I
dip.
will actually eat Ruffles.
My vote is, I'm just thinking about this now because I also do want some, but I want peanut M&Ms.
Yeah.
Like a big bowl of peanut M&Ms in the center.
Or like milk chocolate peanuts.
Oh yeah.
Get out
That'd
of
be
here
good
with
too.
your nuts.
Yeah, I know. Sophie's allergic, so we can't do that, but
I mean, I'm allergic to tree nuts,
true.
but anytime I eat a peanut, my body's like, you should die.
Yeah.
You should be dead.
Let's err on the side of caution and kill you.
Yes.
Yeah, mine. So out of our group, I've been playing tabletop RPGs the longest. So I have progressed through a whole series of snack and or drink foods. I've been through the whole Cheetos and the character sheet knuckle grab because you have orange stuff all over your fingers. But most recently, I think my favorite snack while gaming is probably Gardettos.
Ooh.
It's a good one.
And favorite drink, I tend to stick with Diet Pop of some kind. I'm a big fan of the Diet Dr. Pepper. That just because it tastes more like regular Dr. Pepper, as the ad has told me. But however, I have also played with people that, and I kid you not that this has actually happened. One of my friends, a very, very long time ago, when we were all younger and our bodies could handle this, he took those enormous, what were they, like 2 foot long pixie sticks?
No.
He
What?
took
No,
the
just
gra- the
already
grape-
no.
Yeah, he took the grape flavored pixie stick and he dumped it into his can of Pepsi.
No, is
Why?
can?
Can of Pepsi.
Can?
Yes, can. And
Fits?
well, it fizzes a lot, but eventually, yes. And just the amount of sugar that is in that particular combination is just
My jaw is locking up just thinking about this.
But yeah, I will never forget that. And I love you, Pete, if you're listening. But that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen happen.
I love you, Pete. I hope you're alive.
Yeah.
And it still have all of your feet and extremities.
Yeah, we are still friends. I've known him for 20 plus years. But that was one of those things where I was like that would kill me. Like I'm not even sure about being in the same room with that.
Yeah. Really quick, I would legendarily, when I wasn't DMing, both for posterity and around a bunch of electrical equipment and also around a much more cramped space, would always have a glass of water, a tiny splash of coffee with some almond milk, and then a beer, all at the D&D table, all at the same time, and then would just take tiny swigs of all of them to balance all of the chemicals in my body. And that was my DMing state.
Yeah, that buzz.
And then, but I don't anymore. I just hide some water off in the corner. And I think I have 2 favorite snacks. I used to be part of a game that was at someone's house, and they would always have cool, fun snacks. And I think it's a classic pretzel. I always pretzels are always great, especially if you're not on mics, but that nice little bit of saltiness, a lot of, that kind of stuff. And one time there was cheese and crackers, and that was a fun way to do it because it was a little classy, some different combinations, but it also wasn't too messy.
Yeah,
So-
that sounds good. That sounds good.
And it stuck with you a little longer.
We should do a classy D&D stream where we've got wine and a charcuterie board, and we're also just playing Dungeons and Dragons.
With obviously with a monocle.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, obviously.
And top hats.
I gotta suit up. I gotta get the tie and everything.
I'll commit to one tuxedo t-shirt.
I think my perfect snack, I haven't thought of a savory one just yet. I would want one. Cheese and crackers. As a Wisconsinite, I'm very attached.
Yeah, true.
And I would
It's true, it's
want
good.
Merck's spreadable cheddar. But that's just very messy at the table, so I don't think that'd be my perfect snack.
Yeah, another good one along those lines that I really enjoy are the peanut butter filled pretzels.
Oh, those are good.
yeah.
Little like bite-sized things. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Princeton flea market beef sticks.
Oh yeah.
The Zangs know what I'm talking about. I go once a year to this flea market in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, and spend $100 on beef sticks, and that's
They're
not
great.
even an exaggeration. So those, and then Jonathan's Snickerdoodle cookies, because that's
yeah, that's true.
those are cookies that you still get that sweetness, but you're not going to have a sugar headache at the end of the night.
That's true. Those are good.
I
cookies.
used to bake a lot.
I was gonna say, I was about to call you out.
Yeah, for our D&D night. So like, a couple years ago, I'd bring like, snacks and treats and cookies to every single one of our game nights. I brought a plate of churros once. That was
Oh my
great.
God, that was so good.
That was really good.
Yeah, I brought like a straight up just like chocolate cheesecake that I'd made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hold on. I think as I recall, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's a little bit of revisionist history, Jonathan, because as I recall, it was stuff like, ooh, I made a whole cheesecake, and wait, I can't eat a whole cheesecake.
Yeah,
I guess I'm offloading it on these other saps around
That's
the
true.
D&D table.
That is very true.
You didn't bake for us. You baked it and then brought it to us.
I
It's a
wanted
separate
cheesecake.
I have made it, and you all are legally obligated to eat
Yeah.
this.
right to eat this. Yeah, but that was a good time. I should bake more.
So curse you, microphones, for preventing us
You
from
can't.
snacking.
Yeah.
Sweets at the table as a result of this. It's probably good for us though.
True.
Yeah, in the long run, yes, I'm sure that it's better because the only thing we're allowed to really have at the table now is a glass of water.
You're
Yep.
allowed to have other types of liquids. It's just we all choose water primarily. Sometimes Nathan and I have beer.
That's true. That's true. So a question from Play Nerd Allies.
Yeah. Lovely streaming and much more outfit.
Yes. For Nathan, what is the best beard oil?
I'm actually in the market right now. I do a lot of conditioning and whatnot. As I understand it, a lot of beard oils are essentially similar in a lot of ways other than scents. So if anyone has recommendations, or better yet, if anyone wants me to shill their product for them and sponsor the podcast, hit your boy up on Twitter.
Good answer. Good answer.
I will be happy to give a review for beard oil.
Sophie and I will do a joint beard oil review.
So we're almost at the end. This one is from Angie. What has been your favorite part of the podcast experience?
So for me, and I think I may have said this once before, but like my favorite part of the podcast experience is just seeing how people are reacting to the stuff that we're putting out there and just enjoying it.
Yes.
It's just like,
yes.
I think that's true for a lot of just like creative folks. But when you put your stuff out into the world and you see that people are interacting with it, that they like it, like the fan art has been just incredible. I never thought in a million years that we would have like someone who enjoyed our stuff so much that they made fan art for us. Like that was so huge. But just
got a fan fiction the other week.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah, that was.
I loved that.
That made my whole week. Just
And we have people painting miniatures
Oh my God,
of our
yes.
characters.
I'm very excited
like that,
for the reveal.
That blows me away.
Right. Like it's just so much. Like so much of why this is so enjoyable is just seeing the joy that other people are getting from this.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Because I'm still honestly blown away when it's not just, us listening to our podcast every day.
Yeah, right? I have a less feel-good answer for this. No, I love the logistics and the technical part of making a podcast. Like, I love the audio engineering and the business side of it and the social media engagement, like metric side of it. Like, I think that's all really cool. As the inner nerd in me is just like, yes, numbers. That's how can I optimize the frequencies?
This is where your number crunching went.
Yeah,
This is where your optimization went.
Yeah.
Not into Catherine, into the podcast.
I'm going to measure the frequencies in my tiny room and determine where to put sound canceling panels to best optimize for that. Like that's cool. That I really enjoy that process. So
Get ready, everybody. David's gonna min-max our podcast.
Yeah.
What do you mean is
Yeah,
going
right.
to? That's been the last
no,
since
Nathan, you don't
2019.
understand. It's for every level. of the podcast.
That's that. I am sure David has yet to uncover or at least show us the next layer of minutia or whatever that he is going to refine to perfection, which is so key in our quality and success.
Yeah, we joke about it, but he does a lot.
Yes, but it is accurate.
True.
Like the Reckless Attack sound, a lot of it comes down to David and his exhaustive work in making it all sound good and work well and keep to a schedule and everything. So yeah, absolutely. For me, I really do love the reaction. The fact that what we're doing brings joy to people is the best thing I think any of us could have hoped. And that people not just are enjoying it, but are their lives are a little bit better and nicer for it is wonderful. But I have really loved the experience of working with the whole crew of Reckless Attack. We were loose friends at best when we first started playing together in 2016 Vomit. And then we were good friends and kind of gaming friends for a long time. And even as we were kind of ramping up with the podcast stuff, we've grown closer as actual friends and as people. And you could lock me in a room with any of you and I would have a great time talking about whatever nonsense or any combination of you guys. And it has been exclusively a really wonderful, positive experience and a very supportive place and a very safe feeling experience where everyone is cool to speak up and to say things and to be like, hey, I'm not feeling this, or I would like more of that. And so that has really been the fact that we have kept that kind of friendship and creator integrity at the core of it throughout the weirdness that is releasing 6 months of a moderately successful podcast is an incredible blessing and joy for me, for certain, too. So
we love you too, Nathan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. You guys are the best.
I'm giving you
Delightful
hearts
even.
from behind the screen.
So that brings us to our final question for this particular Q&A. And this one comes to us from Live from the Apocalypse. They want to know which of the players would win in a battle royale.
Players?
The players?
Players or characters?
So
I clarified. It means players.
Me.
Like the
100%.
human meat
I would
people.
100% win in a battle royale.
Why?
Because I know all of your weaknesses. Sophie, in a player battle royale, would win.
Sophie
hands
is
down.
is actually Batman. Has just been like planning our downfalls for years.
Cut to later tonight. Sophie, moves around a couple books on a bookshelf, and then it swings open to her secret lair, where she goes through files of each of us, like she does every night.
We each have our own kryptonite. Yeah.
Does it matter how much the Zangs weightlift, how much you worship Thixius? I would win.
Well, I don't have any rebuttal to that, so I'll just say, confidence is half the battle. If like boxing or whatever, there's like the showdown at the weigh-off and like the mind games, and I think Sophie just won them. So like, what more could we have in that discussion?
Well, so there we go. Sophie would be the winner of the battle royale. That brings us to the end. Thank you all for listening. But please, we're happy to interact on social media. If you get a chance, you can drop us a line at reckless_attack. And, pretty good chance we'll respond because we like most of the people that are out there.
Yeah.
Don't ruin it for us.
Yeah. We love you guys. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye.
Hey everyone, it's me, Nathan, again. Just wanted to thank you all once more for listening and to remind you all that the part 2 of our Q&A is available right now to our patrons. Get on over and subscribe today to hear it and tons of other amazing Patreon content, including behind the screen chats, published adventures, and more. See you here next week.